morning children, how are you all? I hope you all are doing great. So today students will be taking an elementary classroom in slum by Stephen Spender. Before starting, let me tell you something about Stephen Spender. Stephen Spender is an English poet, novelist and an essayist, and he has written poetry which talks about class struggle and social injustice in a time when America went through civil rights movements. Okay, so you need to remembering only this much about the poet. This would suffice. Now let us take this poem line by line and understand what it has to say. So it says, far, far from gusty ways, these children's faces like rootless weeds, the hair torn around their pallor. Here he starts with a poem, a classroom which is very shabby, which is in a slum, and this is about children who are poor. So he says these children who are also part of this classroom, their faces are far, far from gusty waves. Gusty waves means the face which is full of enthusiasm, which is full of energy and which is full of bubble. Okay, and their faces are away from them. Their pallor is like rootless weeds. So their pallor means their face is like rootless weeds. Rootless weeds means something without any root, without any purpose, without any energy or enthusiasm, away from something which is promising, which is green, which is like gusty waves, which is full of energy. Now the faces of these children are like rootless weeds. So here the poetic device used is simile. Remember this. Then the tall girl with her weighed down her head, the paper seeming boy with rat's eyes. Now he starts to describe the children in a classroom of a slum, in a poor classroom. And he says a tall girl with her weighed down head. There is one tall girl, the author notices, the poet notices, and her head is weighed down because she is suffering from malnutrition and she is suffering from mental exhaustion and also malnutrition, both the cases. So mentally too she is exhausted, and also malnutrition has made her skinny, and she is tall, and her head is down. Why? Because she has nothing to be proud of. Then the paper seeming boy with rat's eyes. Now there is one poor boy and he is so thin that his eyes are all his body. Okay, so his eyes are like that of a rat. You know, if you think of a rat, how his eyes are constantly searching for food, constantly searching for something which he could consume. It's scared and it just wants to run away and is curious. Okay, similarly this boy's eyes are like that of rats searching for food. So he says these children are so poor that let alone success, they do not even have food to consume. Why are they even there in this classroom? Okay, the stunted unlucky heir of twisted bones reciting father's gnarled disease. Now there is one boy who has inherited rickets, and that's why he is twisted in his appearance. That is, he is all molded and he cannot stand straight, and that's why his bones are twisted. And he says he is reciting his father's inherited disease, that is rickets, and that he is very poor and has nothing, he has no money to even go cure for it. Okay. His lesson from his desk is reciting lesson from his desk. So this boy is reciting lesson from his desk. So it's, you can imagine that how a student who is gnarled, who is twisted and has rickets is reciting lessons as though he has some future. So he is sad about these facts. The poet observes and is sad about these facts. Then at back of dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in the tree room. Other than this, then the poet notices there is one sweet boy who constantly looks out of the window thinking that he would have a better future, and he is also confused if this squirrel's game is something which is merely a distraction of a better future, or it is just something that he feels can also be actualized. Okay, so he is distracted by a squirrel's game, a sweet and young boy who lives in dream, and there is some hope, the author says. Okay, so this is what a elementary classroom in a slum is made up of. Okay, there is one tall girl who is malnourished and who is mentally and physically exhausted, physically malnourished, mentally exhausted. There is another boy whose eyes are like that of rat, constantly searching for food, for tiffin boxes, you know, something that he just wishes to consume, is scared and he does not know about his future. Then there is one boy who is twisted, and his bones are twisted, and he is constantly reciting his lessons as though there is future for him, but everyone who notices him feels that there is no future. And then there is one little sweet boy who dreams of going out of this class and is looking constantly out of the window at the squirrel game, feeling that he himself can be a part of the same. Okay, so in this entire stanza there is just one simile used, and this is wherein the faces of these people are compared to rootless weeds, and this is also with gusty waves. Okay, so this is what the entire first paragraph is all about. Now let us understand second paragraph line by line. It says, on sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all the cities. So then the poet notices the walls, the color of the walls of the classroom, and it is of which color? It is of sour cream walls. Okay, so it has the color of the wall is that of cream. That means the cream, the walls has no color basically, and you can imagine the poverty-like situation they are in. Okay, and he says that whatever is there on those walls is also the donation by the capitalists, the bourgeois society, to this section of society. Okay, the one which are living in slum. Okay, Shakespeare head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities. He notices that there is one Shakespeare's image, there is one Shakespeare's photograph, and it feels that his head is bald and is cloudless at dawn. Early morning, it looks cloudless, it looks without hope, and it says civilized dome. Similarly, he compares the city domes, the city buildings all over the cities which dominate the dominant class that actually dominates the entire city, in contrast to a little photograph of Shakespeare which feels cloudless, without hope at dawn, early in the morning. Right, belt flowery Tyrolese valley, open-handed map, awarding the world its world. Okay, so then he talks about beautiful Tyrolese valleys full of flowers and belt shaped, and it also has one open-handed map which is showing a kind of new world, which is showing a kind of new hope to these children who are in the classroom. Okay, and yet for these children, these windows, not this world, are world. Now he says that these promising imaginatory photographs which are there on the walls are not the real world of these children who are inside the class, but their world is not outside the window or in these maps or in these photographs, but what they are living, their living reality is this very classroom wherein they are struggling to study, struggling to make a better future, but it is full of ignorance. We will see. Then, where all their futures painted with fog. The poet says that all their future is painted with fog, means with ignorance here, and a narrow street sealed with lead sky. So in contrast to the sunny sky, the sky of these children is sealed with lead, the color of the pencil, okay, which is grey in color. So these people might be working at industry, and their skies are full of the smoke that comes out of the industry or from the factories, and that is why he says there is just one narrow street that is leading to their own bitter reality, wherein their sky is not sunny, it is full of the color of the lead, which is black. Okay, far, far from rivers, capes and stars of word. He says that their world is away from all kind of romanticism, all kind of good lives, away from rivers. They do not have the pleasure to enjoy rivers. They do not have the liberty, or you may say luxury, to enjoy rivers, cape towns, and also star of words. Star of words means world of knowledge. Okay, they are that much in ignorance. Then here the poetic device used is that of a metaphor when he says their future is painted with fog. Fog here stands for ignorance. Okay, remember this. Then coming to the next, surely Shakespeare is wicked and the map is a bad example, with ships and suns and love tempting to them to steal. So now the poet is so infuriated, he says these pictures on the wall donated to this elementary school is a kind of bad example for these children who have no future. These the picture of Shakespeare, the picture of map, the picture of Tyrolese Valley are all tempting them to give them a kind of world that leads them to better future, okay, we may say. So this promises them that they can also have a better future. He feels that these are just mere temptations and they are actually deviating the students from their real reality, that their reality is slum. So they say, he's saying they do not have the luxury to enjoy ship, sun and love, and they do not have it, and that's why they are so they also should not be looking at these pictures, because these pictures merely serve as temptation. These students cannot really have the luxury to enjoy ship, sun and love. So Shakespeare is making a false promise that they can also have a good future, also a map which shows them that there is a world beyond their existing world, okay. For lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes, from fog to endless light. Now the poet says, here again he has made use of metaphor, saying that lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes, their lives is that they'll go back from the elementary schools to their cramped holes. Their homes are just like small holes of little mice or mouse, okay, not mice but mouse. So it says that their lives are slyly means something very cheatingly. Their lives takes back them to their small holes and just shows them the flowery images of the world, but takes them back to their reality, wherein their homes are so cramped, they are so small, like those of squirrels or those of mouses homes, okay. From fog to endless light, so from ignorance to endless light means from ignorance they'll just go a step further and it progresses to death, okay. So fog here stands for ignorance, endless night stands for death here, okay. So slyly means the lives take back them to their reality, just making them show the picture of the world, that how beautiful the world can be and how they have to go back to their reality. So he is infuriated by these pictures who promises them a kind of future, okay. On their slag heap, these children wear skin peeped through their by bones and spectacles to steal with mended glass like bottle bits on stone. Again a metaphor used. He says, the poet says he's so concerned, and he says there on this slag heap, when they return back home, it's a kind of slaggish heap, it's a kind of full of rag heap. These children, what are they wearing? They are wearing glasses, okay. Even when they are not able to see, they are wearing glasses which are broken, just like a glass on the mountain, okay. So just like a glass on the hill, how badly it is broken, or just like a bottle is broken on a stone, okay. So their glasses are equally broken and they do not have an option to get them repaired, and they are wearing those glasses like bottle bits on stones. All of their time and space are foggy slum, okay. He says all of their time and space here means all of their lives, again the metaphor used, and their entire life is nothing but foggy slum, okay. The place wherein they live, it is a slum area. So blot their maps with slum as big as doom. So the poet says, while he is angry at this very situation, and he says it that why don't we blot this Shakespeare, why don't we just blot is a kind of dag, what you say in Hindi, okay, is a kind of just why don't we shun it, okay, with slums. So we can also shun it, we can just blot this entire picture with their reality, that is slums. And why don't we lead this Shakespeare, these maps to doom? This is what he is trying to say. Doom means to death, so that they can live in their reality, okay. So here then we, as the poetry progresses towards this last paragraph, Stephen Spender shows great hope and how imaginative he is. He says, unless a governor, inspector or visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs, okay. So here catacombs means burial chambers, okay, wherein a dead body is buried. So he says unless a person from authority, it could be a politician, it could be someone at authority or an inspector. Visitor here means the reader who is sensitive towards their issues, visits these people and just pledges to make a change in their lives comes. This map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. So this very maps and these pictures on the walls become their window, that yes, they can have a beautiful world, they can actually escape to the same. And these windows, but the real windows of the classroom, they shut upon these maps, and their lives are back to catacombs. Catacombs means they are back to their burial like homes, okay, which is no less than a coffin. Then it says, break, oh break, open till they break the town, and show the children green fields, and make their world run azure on gold sands, and let their tongues run naked into books. It says, he then starts to imagine these children breaking free of their poverty like condition, of their slum like condition, and they are breaking their own reality, their own town, wherein, and show the children green fields. And why doesn't the actual beautiful reality make the children show the real green fields, that yes, there is knowledge, there is hope, there is enlightenment, in opposed to ignorance, in opposed to poverty, okay, green fields, and make their world run azure. So he says he is imagining these children running on golden sands of knowledge and enlightenment, and let their tongues run naked into books, okay, and let their tongue be full of knowledge, full of enlightened words, full of better and brighter future, okay. The white and green leaves open, okay, and wherein he starts to imagine the white and green, the color leaves open. So he says white and green are essentially the color of peace, enlightenment, and all the beautiful things, success, peace, enlightenment, prosperity. And he starts to imagine that their fields of knowledge open, okay. Then history is theirs whose language is sun, okay. So the poet says history remembers only those who are enlightened, whose language is knowledge, in opposed to whose language is fog. Fog, as you knew, stood for ignorance, okay. So he says history remembers only those who break free of their condition, and also whose language is enlightenment and knowledge, in opposed to ignorance and poverty, okay. So this was the entire core and the crux of the poetry and the summary of it. So here we hardly have any poetic device used. Catacombs is a kind of symbol used rather, which means burial chambers or coffin, okay. So this is the entire thing. The last line is just he's wanting these children to be creative enough, and this very spirit of human creativity will abide in the slum children. If they are ever liberated, they would see a beautiful world. And he starts to also imagine this, he just forgets their reality and places these children in his head. He starts to place these children on golden sands, wherein they are experiencing knowledge and prosperity, okay. So he then finally makes a comment and passes on the message. History remembers only those who are enlightened and whose language is knowledge and enlightenment, in opposed to foggy sky, in opposed to fog and endless night, okay. So fog, as you know, is ignorance, endless night is death, okay, whose language is knowledge, enlightenment and life, okay. This is the entire core. I'll be sharing with you the question answers and notes in Naresh sir's classes. Till then, take care.